Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I am the leader of the bunch, Dylan Musk, and I have with me the Prince of Darkness, Travis Snell. How are you doing tonight, my friend?
Not too bad. A long time in the making to be talking about, a Donkey Kong game. But yes, very exciting times. As the name alludes to, R.I.P. to Ozzy Osbourne. I know it's nowhere out, but I don't know when I'll be on the cast. We like music here. Got some music playing right now. So shout out to the Prince of Darkness. But I'm excited to talk about some Donkey Kong.
You have music playing right now, like in your headphones? You're just listening
No,
to some
you
tracks?
did. We did.
okay.
The Sidequest theme,
The intro. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Intro, yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, that could be a vibe. I've never tried that before because I try and really focus. But I don't know. Maybe it could like energize. I'm not sure. I gotta try.
Yeah, I know some people have the gimmick of the music with the podcast. I'm not a fan of that, other than for like the opening plugs. People that have the whole time, I don't know.
Ads is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, yeah. Today, this episode's all about Donkey Kong Bananza. As you mentioned, the newest Donkey Kong game in quite a long time. The newest 3D Donkey Kong game in like. What, 20, 30 years? 25
almost
years?
30,
something
yeah,
like
I bet,
that,
because it was probably
absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
The N64 era, like 1997 or something. I don't know when that game came out.
1999. So
Wow,
there you
there
go.
you go.
So we're 4 years away from being 30 years old. So nearly a 3-decade-old game.
Yeah, but we're still kind of firmly in that launch window of the Switch 2. So this is kind of after Mario Kart World, like the first big Nintendo launch title game. So it's a very exciting time all around. And we're just going to get right into it today. Let's talk about some Donkey Kong. So I guess, before we get into the specifics of Bonanza and how that's going for us, take me on a journey of your history with, I guess, Donkey Kong as a series or Donkey Kong as a character. What does he mean to you? And like, getting into this point, like, was this a big deal for you, new Donkey Kong game? Take me through it.
Absolutely, because yes, this was absolutely a big deal, because returning listeners will know, but if anyone new listening, I've been waiting for a game like this for a while, and I did get the Switch 2. I've talked about this before, because good present for family. That kind of doubled as like, okay, kids' birthday present, they're all in summer. Emily's a Mario Kart fan, but honestly, when I saw that direct, I was like, I don't need, I'll get this eventually. That's cool. There'll be something that comes up. But when that direct ended with Donkey Kong, I knew I was pretty solidified. Even then I had some for a while. I was like, I'll wait. But that was a tough pill to swallow to wait. And that's how much I love Donkey Kong. And eventually, like, okay, that direct happens. Like, okay, we got to pull the trigger here. And I don't remember. To me, it's just like in the, inside out core memory thing of learning video games. It was Mario, Sonic, Zelda, Donkey Kong. It's not like a specific memory of, I picked this up, that's what I started playing. I just remember being, whenever I started playing video games, to probably a bit more cognizant of like, I feel like maybe people, this is a question for everybody, I feel like my memories are mostly from like grade 1 and on. I feel like I somewhat remember other stuff, but grade 1 on, that's why I think, okay, I can actually call back stuff. So at that point, I remember when I played like Army Soldiers on N64, or like booting up Mario 64. That was a big deal, right? Because just seeing those graphics back then, it's like, whoa. So the same thing happened with Donkey Kong. But yeah, I just remember me and my dad, because that was one of those few games that it was the 2-player, but you just, actually, was it Donkey Kong 1 or Donkey Kong Country, or was it the follow-up where you could switch off between Donkey and Diddy?
Well, yeah, the way it worked is like when you were playing as Donkey Kong and you got like hit, like Diddy Kong would take over.
But that was
I don't
always
know how
since
that
the
worked
first
in a
game,
co-op
right?
sense, honestly. That was the first game. The second game was Diddy's Conquest, where you played as Diddy,
Right.
and then when you got hit, you turned into Dixie.
I thought it worked as like maybe I'm wrong, but I thought, either I thought it worked like a Mario, where it's just like player 2 is Luigi, or me and my dad just traded off. Then I remember many hours of me and my dad playing Donkey Kong Country, just trading off, going back and forth. And that was a fun time. And then again, it got revolutionized. You and I have talked about this many times. And maybe, I don't know where my love for Donkey Kong goes. There's some people out there, they're coming back. I know you're one of them. Hansi, she's one of them. We're part of the DK crew. And maybe it's just because I love monkeys, but I think same with Mario 64. I feel like my 64 memories are Mario 64, Star Fox Smash, and Banjo, and then Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong 64, we've talked about many times, so I won't get into it, but for anyone new, love that game. I have so many memories. I feel like it's one that I just played over and over. I loved the whole kind of like branching out to the other realms of Donkey Kong as far as not only the world but the characters, playing with the entire family. So that was a game that I just go to spammed a bunch, and I was always waiting for something like that. And then obviously Donkey Kong's in many great franchises I love, right? Mario Kart, he's usually in all the sports games. He wasn't Mario Party until 4, so I liked him being there. Shame they took him out.
He was in 2. I remember him being in 2 actually.
No, so he was there till 4.
Oh, I
so
see.
Yeah, I think they added. I can't remember if he was in the first one, but I think they added him in 2. Yeah, he was in 2, 3, and then the first one, the GameCube. For some reason, after that, they ditched him. So I don't know why. Donkey Kong, great character,
Ages.
but he's. I'm not gonna say one of my favorites in Smash, but like actually, I would. I'd say he's top 5. He's somebody that when I get Smash, it's usually now it's Little Mac, but it's always Bowser, and Donkey Kong's one of those I pick up. I love the charge thing. So. You never got the Donkey Kong Drums game, and then Tropical Freeze I enjoyed, which I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to call back, I think, to country, but a little kind of re-upped, kind of what they did with the Mario 3D games, where it's those 2D platformers you love, but huge fresh coat of paint, right? And I don't know why me and Emily got it. I just never loved Tropical Freeze. Would never say it's a bad game, nothing like that. I don't know why. I don't know if I didn't love the level design. I don't know. There's some times too where I felt like it was hard, and not like a fun sense, just like in an annoying sense. Not like I'm a bad gamer, but who knows? Maybe I'm a bad gamer, couldn't do it. But we played it, beat it. I remember I traded it in at EB Games because I never need to play this again, because I like Donkey Kong Country, but my love is 64, so I've been waiting long for this, and then here we are, and yeah. Am I saying anything about the game now, or am I throwing to you for your overall?
No,
jump the cart.
We'll circle it a bit more. Yeah. But yeah, I have in some ways similar, but also quite a different route where my first console back in the day was the NES, and then I didn't get an SNES. I went straight to N64. Of course, I was born in 95, which was like 10, 15 years after the NES came out. So it's not like that was a contemporary console at the time, but I just always, growing up, had like pawn shop consoles or like hand-me-down consoles or consoles that came from a random aunt from somewhere. No one knows like where this console came from. And I feel like my memory is that like on the NES, I just didn't have the concept of like new games being a thing. Like my NES came with like 6 or 7 games or something.
Yeah.
Which was like, the Mario Bros. Trilogy, and then like Alien 3, a Sesame Street game, like a racing game, like just kind of random things other than Mario. And it's like, oh yeah, those are just the games that exist, and there wasn't this. I don't think we ever got like a new game at any point. And then the N64 is the next console I got, and that one is like, oh, now I'm like seeing things at Blockbuster and like renting them in the case, in that like VHS case that they would come in at like Blockbuster and all that. And yeah, I feel like Donkey Kong, it's weird when I'm thinking back on it, because like I guess the first Donkey Kong game I played was 64. So for me, it was like he was a 3D character, and it felt weird to go back to a 2D realm. But then even kind of what you were saying there, like on the N64, it's like, I was playing Donkey Kong 64, and then I'd go play Smash, and he was in there. I'd go play Mario Party. He was, bumping around with the crew in there. I'd go Mario Kart Racing, and he'd be in the crew there. And so I feel like he was just always around, and I never necessarily knew like the history of it or whatnot. But he was a very formative character there in the like 3D era, which kind of cemented everything for me to some extent. And it's really not until more recently that I've actually gone back and like played some of the other like 2D Donkey Kong games. Like maybe I played them for a couple minutes here or there, but with the Nintendo Switch Online, of course, they have all of the Donkey Kong Country games on there. The Donkey Kong Land games are just like the Game Boy ports, so I haven't really checked out those. But yeah, I've played like a couple hours of each of the Donkey Kong Country games, and honestly, no one throw a pitchfork at me. I don't really like those games very much. Like I'm not a big fan of like the platforming in them and the gameplay. They're really hard, at least for me, and I don't have like the nostalgia for them. I think they have great visuals, and the music's of course fantastic, but I just wasn't there as a kid playing them. And then even I think it was last year, it'd be pretty quick if anyone wants to scroll back in the feed. I talked about Donkey Kong Returns. I picked that up on 3DS and finally played through about half of that, and also it was fine. It was okay, decent platformer. It's had some good like cinematic stuff to it, but like just not really my cup of tea. So I guess what I've realized is like I'm not really a fan of the formula of like the Donkey Kong Country games, and I do really want to try Tropical Freeze because it seems like there's some good additions in there and things that I would like. So I want to try it at some point, but that game just never goes on sale, even on the Switch, even though it was like a port from the Wii U, and it's like old as hell now, but like they still don't put it on sale. So someday I'll play that game. And then for the spin-offs, like I don't think I've ever really played like I've used the bongos before, but I don't think I've ever actually played like Jungle Beat or whatever those games are. Never played like DK King of Swing, Diddy Kong Racing. I guess I should say that. Not that Donkey Kong's in there necessarily, but like that was always a game.
Yes, yeah.
Playing a lot on the N64 as you were as well. So nostalgic for that whole crew outside of just Donkey Kong.
I'm more a Diddy Kong Racing guy than a Mario Kart guy back in the 64 era. You know, I played that one way more. So
yeah. So yeah, it's like he's always been around, and like obviously being a big Smash fan and always playing these party and sports games, as you mentioned. Like Donkey Kong's mostly always there, and so he's always just kind of been a character. So it's funny to be like, oh, I love Donkey Kong. I care about this guy, even though like his games have never had a story, and his personality's always been just like, I like to eat bananas. Like that's as deep as even in this game. Bonanza. That's as deep as his story gets, as he just wants to collect. And he's really pretty much a capitalist, so I probably shouldn't like him. Like I feel like he needs a little bit more.
I feel like other than the 64 game, he feels like how Thor is to you in the Avengers, where the Soul movies, you know, you could take him or leave him. You don't really care too much about him, but you like him in the squad. You know, like he's part of the team. But but you know, sometimes I respect a simple man. He's just like or a simple ape. He's just looking for food. You know, he likes his bananas.
With his expressions, he has a lot of personality. I think that's another reason why. But yeah, Donkey Kong 64 is a game that I played a ton as a kid. I loved it, and it's probably been like 10 years ago now, but I remember doing another playthrough with a friend. So in my adulthood, I was a little bit older now, and I still appreciated the game because I know a lot of people shit on that game and don't like it and say it's really bad platformer. It's really bloated.
No, wrong.
Maybe some of that stuff is true, but I still love that game, and I think it's really great. And yes, there is a lot of bloat in it, but I think having like a 3D platformer like that where you can switch between all these different characters and they have different movesets, I think is like a pretty novel. Like there's not a lot of games that do that even today, really. So I think it's pretty cool that they were able to do that back then, and always add a lot of personality. I always loved Lanky Kong. That was my guy, and I feel like he's another one too that needs to be more things.
He's in the overalls, right? He's like the orangutan. Yeah, because there's him, there's Dixie, there's Chunky. And
well, it wasn't even Dixie. It was tiny. Remember, it was a different small Kong,
yeah.
not Dixie for some reason.
Yeah, well, hopefully we see them more.
I don't even know if Dixie was in 64 at all. I feel like she probably just wasn't, I guess.
I bet she's somewhere of like, hey, donkey, like, here's a banana, you know?
Maybe,
I'll confirm.
Yeah, but then I guess another thing I wanted to mention before we talk about this game itself is, there's been a lot of chatter recently about, like, who is developing this game, because Nintendo is very they really hold their cards close to the vest when it comes to that kind of thing. Like I remember last year when Peach Showtime came out, people didn't know until like the game was out and people could beat it and look at the credits to see like who actually made this game, which is crazy and weird, but like I see why they do it. And I think me and you did a discussion on that on Sidequest sometime, talking about like the different studios within Nintendo and what those things mean and what they could be working on. And I think we even theorized like we hope the Odyssey team is making a Donkey Kong 3D game, and it's cool that ends up being the case here. But that was kind of a two-sided thing to me. One is like it would be really cool if, so I guess for people who didn't see this yet, that yes, this is in fact the Odyssey team, or at least mostly, partly, whatever, maybe not the same director, but it is the Odyssey team, which is obviously a great sign for me in the sense that like, okay, that's like, to me, like an A, B, like that and like the main Zelda team are kind of like the two head honcho, like big studios within Nintendo. So to give that to Donkey Kong is like a big thing. That means it's going to have like a big budget, and it's probably going to have a bunch of big ideas, and it's going to take a long time to make that kind of game. And I know this game has been in development a long time. It was originally supposed to be a Switch 1 game, and then it like wasn't running super duper well on the Switch 1, so they kind of kicked it down the road, which I think has worked out nicely for them to have another good like launch window game for this new console. But then the other side of that coin is like I don't really like Mario Odyssey. I've beaten that game, and I just don't think the movement of it feels very good. Like the comboing of moves, like throwing the hat and like dashing at the hat and bouncing off, doesn't feel great. I think it feels quite stiff. And I think the game is just like, it just puts moons everywhere, moons the equivalent of stars, and they just don't feel super meaningful after a certain while. And I think this game suffers from like maybe a little bit of that as well, but there's some other ways that they incentivize it. But yeah, I'm just not like really a big fan of Odyssey. I think there's a lot of great things it does. Some of the levels are really cool, but the transformations, they're just kind of, there's so many of them, but none of them are really that interesting. And I don't know, just isn't really my cup of tea. So not that I was worried about what this game was going to be because of that. But I guess I just kind of had like two ways of thinking of this before coming into it. I think you have not played Odyssey yet, right?
No, I never played Odyssey. Was there one in between the? Because it went from
Just
Galaxy
the two
to Odyssey.
galaxies, and then
Yeah, no, I
3D
played.
Land, I guess, or
Yeah,
3D
3D
World. If
Land I
you count that.
played. I played Galaxy 1, Galaxy 2 I was out because of the motion. But yeah, Odyssey's on the list. That came out because that was a launch Switch game, right? And I didn't get the
Launch
Switch.
year.
Yeah, launch year. Okay, yeah. And I didn't get the Switch midway till the life cycle, and I had Marvel Alliance and then Luigi. So I've always been busy. It's the plan someday, and who knows? Maybe if I liked or didn't like this game will depend my opinion on if I'm gonna be where it places in the backlog. But it will be scratched at some point.
Nice. So yeah, let's get into Bonanza then. Where are you at in the game? And what do you think about it?
So I just looked on YouTube just to confirm where I am. I'm roughly about for the main story, which, main campaign, it's 7 hours. So we're not talking like Death Stranding here where it's like, I'm hour 16 of 45. No, it's because honestly, when I pull it up, I'm like, oh, I should have beat this game before. But this one, unlike Death Stranding, been very busy. People know like podcast schedule, but just life schedule. It's just been like, there's not been a day, even stuff like on Sunday, like, I'm gonna get some game time in. My dad came to drop, very nice. My dad and stepmother bought my daughter a piano. And then when they drop it off, I just see them whip out some lawn chairs. I'm like, oh, and that's fine. Love my dad. He lives here now. But I'm like, oh, and then 4 hours later, and they were there, right? So there goes that Donkey Kong time. So I will say I've not had as much time, but I feel like, because looking where I am, I feel like I could have got there a lot quicker. I've not been mainlining this at all. Dylan knows this, and maybe some other people out there can feel my heartstrings. There is a way around it, but so I'm playing. I don't know if I mentioned this on cast. I know I said I was getting it, but I officially got the GameCube Pro controller, which I love. I love it more than the actual, just the sticks and like the plastic thing, and it's just nostalgia. It's just like, it's great firing up a current day console, and I look down the GameCube controller, it just feels like home. To me, it's like that. Like, no, I think that is the number one. Like, to me, if we rank it one day, that's a cast to do one day. Rank controllers just by look and feel, but. So I got that. That has no map option. So that's where I'm a little lost.
Minus button. Extremely weird decision.
Yeah. And they have the chat button on there, the C button, and it's weird because with the GameCube they have like the two, silver, like your triggers or whatever they call them now, like ZLZ or whatever, and then you have the classic, that purple nubbin on the right, left
button,
the Z button. But then they have the C button, so the chat button, and then they added another left bumper. So they've added, it's not like, oh well, you know what, we really want to be specific to the GameCube, we're not adding stuff. They added 3 buttons to this thing, but they wouldn't add even a button that masks that, right? So I have no map option. Luckily, Paulina, if you hold the the right or the left trigger, she will sing and get you there. But I'm not really mapping out. I'm playing like the most wild way, and not just because there's that one level. I feel like I am Mad Max, where I'm just dropping to spot. There's times where Pauline has said, oh, go this way, and I'll crash through a surface, and it's like, well, I'm gonna explore down here so far. So yeah, main campaign I'm about 2 hours in. Bananas, I think I'm like 89 collected. That's where I am roughly. So and no, I've been having a great time with it. I'm excited to get more into it. I don't know if it's like the home run I don't know. It's tough because like had expectations for a long time, and I feel like it's not like Luigi's Mansion 2 where I had expectation for a long time and that game actively disappointed me. I'm not disappointed at all by this game. Maybe it didn't go above my expectations for most stuff, but I've, like I said, only about 2 hours for the main story, but I've been exploring a lot. I do love that it's not choice like a Breath of Wild, but there is choice that you can just mess around for hours doing whatever, breaking stuff. And most of the time, when you're breaking stuff, you're going to find the same stuff over and over, a few tokens, the coins, and the chests. But just the landscapes and everything you do, especially when I first did it, when they give you like the ground and pound option, and you go a little down below the ground and you're covered by surface, I'm like, how far can I keep going? And you keep going. That's the best thing too, because sometimes you do find a random banana that's not a part of a mission, because people, if you don't know, they give you these bananas to update your skill tree, but sometimes you just find a random one, and that's really cool. Or you find a different area, or you find a different kind of what were they called? And I guess they are kind of their dungeons, but they're very like very minor, like I don't know. That's one thing I will say for people that have kids. My kids have not tried it yet because they've been very busy. I'm happy there's 3 save files. I feel like that's where maybe my holdback is so far, where it feels very just easy. Like there's not much of a challenge yet. And that's not a bad thing because they want this game to sell. So I'm not saying, oh, like don't get me wrong. There's at times where I can't remember the last time a platformer, and I haven't played Astro, but a platformer has brought me back to times where I did feel like a kid. I was like, man, I'm just having a good time. I plug in, play for a couple hours, and I'm just going wherever. Great music, great scenery. Even though I think some things are a little too bright, and it has like all like a almost type of like Pixar-y feel at times. So I do miss like kind of the grittiness of the 64 style. Like I liked some of that stuff. So really enjoying it for the most part, having a good time. I can even say I'm loving it. Like I'm having a really fun time, but it also didn't blow me away other than the terrain stuff. That everything you can smash, like Marvel, hire this team or hire something like this team and give me a Hulk game like this. You know, like the terrain stuff, just very incredible. Everything you can do in an area, how much you can you can destroy 75% of this map, and it's not like you gotta go this way, you gotta go this way. Like you can get lost, you can end up go down a hole and go to a whole different area. It's fantastic. So no, I'm having tons of fun with it, but I don't think it's like I've seen lots of people say, "Oh, this is a game of the year contender." Don't get me wrong, I can see why someone could pitch me that is their game of the year. It just personally wouldn't even, I don't think, be mine. Like, I'm not even counting Death Stranding. I just don't think I hit those heights. But at the same time, maybe when I finish it, and that's because all I'm going to be playing this summer is this and Death Stranding, maybe my tune will change. I think there's some fun boss battles, but most of the boss battles so far they'll give you like you should do this, but really you can just punch your way through anything. So having a fun time though, even though it might sound more negative, it's not that. Just just maybe didn't reach the heights, but absolutely still having a fun time.
Nice. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how your thoughts kind of evolve as you get through it. So I think you're on Sidequest next week, so we'll do a check-in then, but even might take a couple weeks before you roll credits or anything like that. But I would love if you got a chance to play the co-op, throw Gwen in there, throw one of your daughters in there, because I'd be really curious to hear what they think of it. Do you remember how that works from the direct?
Isn't it just one of them's Pauline and they're like throwing stuff or so? Yeah, which is super lame.
So
but
they're throwing out words, like singing words and stuff, which I don't know. I feel like they would find that fun, but I'm curious. I might be way off base. I don't know what kids actually find fun, but I
think the problem is they'd want to be Donkey Kong, though. I think that's the thing where I think Pauline would be fun.
But wouldn't they want to be the cute little girl who's singing?
No, I think for a moment, but I think the problem is when they
raise them on wrestling and superheroes, they just want to be the big guy who destroys everything.
I think it's just literally the idea of, and that's why I'm excited for the girls to try it. I think just seeing Donkey Kong that he can go punch an entire mountain and go through it, I think they want to do that. Where like I just want to destroy stuff, you know. So I'll definitely try that with them, and I will probably try and let them play with the Donkey Kong because I think other than some of the direction of the map, I think I'm playing on. I think there's like normal, and there's like, is it easy or something else? So it's like
normal
I'm gonna
put assist. I think is what they call it.
And I'm gonna put them on assist. And I think this game's gonna be like a breeze, you know. So
yeah. I had a very different weekend because I was very sick, so I wasn't going anywhere or doing anything. So all I did was sit on the couch and play shit ton of Donkey Kong. So I have rolled credits on the game. I have beat it now, and then I've gone back and doing some other like bonus things. I don't think there's any new worlds that open up after you've rolled credits on it, but there's like another pretty big quest that requires you to collect a lot of bananas and things to see through. I don't know what the reward or end point of that is, but definitely some good incentive to go back through there. I don't know how long it took me. I think maybe 15, 20 hours. I don't really know how many hours it took me. It's hard to say. It was very a feverish weekend of just being sick and just gaming all day long. So it's kind of hard to tell how long I was sitting there for. But yeah, I think I don't know how to talk about this one in the sense because I think almost every second of this game is fun because a major improvement for me in terms of the fun movement feel from Odyssey in terms of just like the locomotion in this game is crazy. You're just flying across like anything. Almost every action in this game is like cancelable into other ones. So you can just like spam buttons and things will be happening and it will be like very responsive of those things. And you're just flying off. You start rolling like a huge barrel and just smash into a wall. And then you keep just plowing through it. As you say, and you just start digging down. You just dig down for 5 minutes straight if you want to go find some random stuff. And then as you check your sonar and there's bananas in all directions. You just keep smashing through the wall. Just picking up these different blocks, riding them across the realms, picking up all these different crazy things flying across. You get these transformations, so you're transforming all these crazy things, and there's really like the usually the cooldown for something like that in these games is pretty big. In this game, you can pretty much like constantly have those transformations active, like those big ultimate abilities. Like you can
Very
pretty much have
easy.
them on all the time if you just keep
Yes.
collecting a little bit of gold as you're going through it. So like the game is just every second is a lot of fun. With the maybe a couple exceptions of like an annoying boss fight or something that like takes too long or something like that, but everything is fun. But I do feel like the game is incredibly shallow. I don't think there is a whole lot of depth to it. And it's funny, in some of this post game stuff, there's like these certain challenge levels that are like asking you to pick up like very specific materials of blocks and then like interact with other very specific blocks in ways that like I'd never encountered before. And it's like a lot of these things don't make sense, but they are kind of interesting where it's like, oh, this bouncy green rock interacts with lava blocks in this very specific way to like solve this puzzle. And it's like, okay, it's a cool idea there, but I feel like these things don't really make a lot of sense, and the game's not really using these things until now, until like the post game where it's like actually like making you think. And I just feel like this game never really asked me to use my brain. I died a lot. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's just like a walk in the park. I still died a lot, but it was never really because I was like, I don't know, not able to solve something in a certain way. It's just because sometimes you just get dealt an insane amount of damage for like walking into a piece of lava or something, or you just fall off a cliff or something like that, which happens a lot for me. So I definitely died a lot, but it never really felt challenging in that way, which, I don't really need it to. And I think for a game where you're playing a monkey who's just destroying everything and just trying to collect bananas, like, I don't need it to be like a super intellectual game. But I just feel like in some of the post-game stuff, it's kind of opening up the door of like, oh, there actually is a lot of interesting, cool mechanics under the surface that I didn't really think about. But I feel like there are structures there. There's the bones there of what could have been like some really interesting mechanics that I just feel like aren't really utilized. And so I don't know. I feel like maybe I'll discover some of those things more as I'm trying to get like specific bananas in the end game, whereas I'm completing more of these challenge level things. But I don't know. I just feel like the game is maybe a bit too shallow at times. But it's still like, hey, every second I'm playing this game, I'm having a good time because it's just fun to fly around and smash into things, and it's like hard to complain about that. And I think from the tech side of things, I think this is like a perfect like launch thing for specifically a sequel console to the Switch, a console that people have been begging on for years for like bad frame rates. These games look like dog shit. And it's like this is like the perfect way to be like, oh yeah, this game there's particles everywhere, things are exploding. It feels like Astrobot in that way. But the game never drops the frame rate at all. And it's not like the most gorgeous game by any means, but it's certainly got like a good style to it. And it's fun smashing through these blocks, and the sound effects are great. Like just the glass shattering effect when you're hitting the Banandium gems is satisfying. After I've collected 500 of these bananas, it is still like it always makes me happy when I collect these things. And so I think super testament there to like the game feel of everything, and the music, as you mentioned, is fantastic. And yeah, I think it's just a fun game to like fly around in and smash into things. And so I'm having a really a good time with it, but I don't think this is one I'm going to come back to frequently. I don't think it's one that I'm going to try to get 100% completion in. I think once I've done these like side quest things, maybe I'll go like do one more lap of some of these levels, see if there's anything cool or interesting that like I didn't do before. But I don't think there's really going to be a whole lot of that. Like there isn't really like side quests in this game or anything deeper than that. There are like little challenge levels that you go into, so I guess that's kind of it. But also a lot of those are kind of like on the quality of Breath of the Wild for me, which is like really bad, where they're just like a little battle arena that takes you 5 seconds and was like, what a waste of time. I did not need to do this. I fought this many.
You 30 seconds, destroy the enemies, and there's 3 of them, and they're just punches. Like that's
it just feels like
that's
float at a time. But at least it's quick to go through some of those things.
Yeah, like I said, that's what's odd. Where when I'm playing this game, that's where sometimes it feels like I am playing the kid mode. Like this would be the mode that I'd watch. It's like, oh, like I'd be sitting on my couch watching Gwen and Logan do this time, and I go, okay, that makes sense. They would, in my mode, be like defeat 15, 20 enemies in 30 seconds, where it's like, okay, for 3 enemies, yeah, that would be the kids mode. But it's like, there's lots of that. And funny enough, other than me falling off something, I haven't died yet. So for me, I haven't had that issue. And I think you're shallow, like, it's hard because like I am having tons of fun with it, so like shallow feels harsh, but I think you're right in a sense, because even stuff where there's one night or everyone was asleep, or oh, I'm gonna play this, get some more hours in. And I think the problem is the best part about this game is sometimes it's not the worst part. That sounds hyperbolic, but for me, I got very tired because I was just doing the same thing for like half an hour, and I was I was going down. It's not like, and again, I should never compare.
I get burnt out when I'm playing. So even when, like over the weekend when I was sick, just playing endlessly, I would like play for a couple hours.
You need a break.
Then I'd like go for a walk, or play for a couple hours and I go deliver some packages in Death Stranding. That's what I would do to break up the monotony sometimes. But like,
that's exactly what I was gonna say. That's where it's like, I'm not comparing it to Death Stranding. I'm just saying Death Stranding is a game where, okay, I make a delivery and then you're given all these options, or there's a story beat. Like with a game like that, there's tons of those options, right? And I would say, even as somebody that, like, again, I still really enjoyed Breath of the Wild. I don't, like I said, I the acclaim it got to me was crazy for that level. But even that game, that had a sense of, the second I would do something, it was, okay, what else is over there? Or I want to go back there. There's places like I want to go back, but it's almost more like this is just a completionist, where, again, the gameplay style is fun. It's fun to destroy stuff and just like dig and see what can I find here. How much it's fun to, you look over, you dig, and you see like that shining gold, and you hit it and just like it's a very cool game. Don't get me wrong, and that's why I almost wonder too. Like, again, this is my bias going in here. I feel like this game, and maybe in a sequel, would be prime for introducing more characters than just Donkey Kong, because I think that's what would really mix it up. Even if you just had Diddy and Dixie, it's like there would be different play styles. You could do different challenges, something where it's like, oh, you can't come back, or maybe you can still play them as Donkey Kong, but they're harder, like X, Y, and Z. So it is a good foundation game. Like I could see a sequel coming out, like you were talking about all the different things you could do, and maybe they should have cut some of those and just really strengthened some on the other ones. But I could see kind of what we've talked about before, where a sequel could be really good because the foundation's there, and to add some stuff, whether it's characters or new modes. But I always have fun. But yeah, there's twice where I tried to play at nighttime and I was dozing off, just because sometimes it is just like, hey, you got to destroy a bunch of stuff to get to point A to point B. Fun time, but when it's just X, 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 and you're punching over, I'm like, okay, it's. I one night fell asleep on my stomach with the controller. Like, oh, and Donkey Kong was just sitting there staring at me. So that's why I would agree with you on the shallow part, where, you know, it feels bad to say, but there's aspects of that I agree with.
Yeah, one thing I'm really curious to, because I haven't listened to any of the reviews or read any reviews or anything yet. I'm curious to see how people think about this who are like big platforming fans, because I feel like a lot of this game doesn't really feel like a platformer, which is going to sound weird because you're constantly jumping and climbing things and, like, you know, knocking over structures so you can climb things in different ways. But in terms of like a structured platformer, I just feel like this game is so freeform because you can kind of blast through things and go around ways. And so, like, other than like boss fights, which are like pretty specific in terms of what it gives you and the only way to defeat it, like you can really get around things in so many different ways. And I've definitely, especially going back to earlier areas with powers that I'm not supposed to have until I get later in the game, and it's like, oh yeah, I can just break this completely. And now this designed challenge is not even that anymore, because I can kind of just like get around it with this other power that I got. And I feel like a lot of the game is like that. But I also don't feel like there's too many. I don't think there's been really, maybe even a single time where I've been like, damn, I really solved that in a super creative way. Like, it's always been just like, oh yeah, I kind of cheesed that, or I don't think that was how I was supposed to do that, but I guess I found another way to do it. Whereas, I don't know, I just think that even like I frequently make fun of, or not make fun of, but just Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, the shrines there, and like how just so few of them are interesting, but a few of them have had those, you know, big click moments for me. Like, oh, I definitely didn't do it in any intentional way, but damn, it felt good to like do it in this cheesy way, which is not really the case here.
Well, and even with that game, I'd say in comparison, not even the shrines, but other stuff from the world, you'd see so many videos of people, the way they take down a boss or what they built, where either, that's
definitely
really
Tears with the building mechanic.
Yes.
Like that stuff's crazy. Yeah.
And then just even, I think with Breath, there's just like certain situations or just the path people went, where it's just, the tough thing with this is I think the answer before it'd be okay, let's say there's a something, shrine, mission, whatever, and me and Dylan might be like, oh, I tackled this way, I tackled that way. With Donkey Kong, it's either like, well, you do it the challenge the way it's meant, or you just smash your way through, right? There's not going to be a situation where me and Dylan like, what did you do? Well, I broke the wall. What did you do, Travis? Yeah. Well, I also broke the wall, you know? Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong, at first that was cool because it's like, okay, there's this thing, how to get there, and it's like, oh, I could literally take a right, smash way through, like make a whole kind of U-turn around and get in there. That's awesome. It's not even designed that way. But I was kind of hoping for more situations where you would do that, and then it'd be like, aha, no, you can't do it here. You got to find like a different way. I thought, okay, this is, and maybe it will, but it sounds like from you, and I the more I've played, I've never got that where it's like, that was the first half an hour. And again, I'm 2 hours in for the main story, you know, the main campaign. I've played a lot of the actual just bumming around, just going around, and there's been no situation where it's like, oh, this is a big challenge. I think the most challenge I had one time was there's this, I can't remember if it's a mission or a challenge where it's a wheel that spins and you have to break part of it and then climb it and then time it so you can come out of the top and you fall on a platform and get there. There's many times I was falling off, and not even dying, just like falling off. But other than that, I've never felt like, man, I'm really head scratching. The only time I pulled up a YouTube video was I did one of the shrines or the challenges, and it's like, all right, do your turf and surf. And I was like, I haven't learned this. Like I got there before I hadn't learned this, and luckily you can still do it. But I was like, I because it was with spikes and then green like shrubs that like have the pointy stuff, and I'm like, how do I get across? At one point, I'm throwing all the ground to like break the green. I'm like, this can't be right. And I'm like, oh, and then literally probably about 10 minutes later, I got to and like, hey, have you ever surfed and turf before? You know, I was like, oh, damn it. So that was fun. But yeah, I haven't had that those type of moments. So
I'll take back my previous statement because there is one exception. There is one time where I do feel like I really outsmarted the game. It was like one very late in the game, like the last couple sections, whatever, when you get to like this really mysterious area and there's characters who are like, pay us a huge fine if you want us to open up like the bridge pretty much for this area. And it's like the first one's 1,000. I'm like, okay, fine, easy. Next one's like 2,000. Then it was like 5,000 or something. I'm like, okay, I'm like out of gold at this point. And the next guy's like 9,999. I'm like, I don't have that kind of money. And so I like found a very kind of cheesy way using a transformation, using like small little platforms off the side to like find a way to get past that area without that. And I don't think that was intentional. So there's one time where I do feel like I was pretty smartly creative in that way. But yeah, it's pretty far and few between where you get like a feeling like that. Clay asked us 3 questions. I want to answer one of them now, and then we can go to an ad break and we can talk about a bunch of other stuff after. But it was actually his 3rd question we're going to answer first. Is it worth getting a Switch 2 for it? If Returns and Tropical Freeze are some of my favorite games of all time, but I had a hard time sticking with Odyssey after beating the main story. So obviously a few different ways to answer this. One, like, the Odyssey thing, as I mentioned, like I don't like Odyssey, but I really enjoy this game just in terms of that basic game feel. So I think if you'd feel similarly in that way, I think I can't imagine anyone thinking the movement in this game feels bad. Like this game is just super fast, super fun, super flowy, super responsive, and as I mentioned, you can like cancel all your actions, so it feels great. Returns, I've only played a bit. Tropical Freeze, obviously, I haven't really played. But I think, if you're a big Donkey Kong guy, I'm curious, Clay, if you are a Donkey Kong 64 fan as well. Not that this game is anything like that, other than the fact that it's the only other like 3D Donkey Kong game. But yeah, for me, the answer is easily no. Like a Switch 2 is an expensive console, and this game's expensive. This game cost me in Canadian dollars $111.99, and it is way overpriced in my opinion for what it is, for that being the price. But that's just where game prices are these days. Obviously, me and you, we have a much bigger incentive to get a console like this at launch because we do a weekly video game podcast. So it's like good for us to have that kind of stuff. But if it weren't for having a podcast, I wouldn't have gotten a Switch 2 yet. Even though I'm really happy with World and I'm really happy with this game. But they're not like quite console sellers for me. It's always like Smash Bros. Is the one that like pushes me over the edge to finally get these consoles. So for me, the answer would be no. But obviously, there'll be other games in the future. You just don't really know what those are yet. Like if you're really excited for Prime 4, heck, maybe this is a good time to pick up the console then if you're really excited for this and Prime 4. I'm very much banking on the fact that a Smash Bros. Is going to come to this console, which I'm sure it will. But so I kind of accepted my fate that I'm going to buy a Switch 2 at some point in my life. But the answer for me right now would be no. I think you can wait on this. You'll probably get spoiled on some interesting things that happen in this game. But that's, it's a Donkey Kong game, whatever. It's not the end of the world if you get spoiled on some things. But I would say you can wait. I would say you can wait, Clay, at this point in time. I don't know if you have a different answer, Travis.
No, here's the thing. Like, I think, absolutely not. I don't think it's because here's somebody that I bought the console pretty much for that. But at the same time, I don't regret the purchase because I've had a good time with it. That's the same thing where I think what Dylan said, though, it would be up to 64 and where you are there. If you haven't played it, then that's tough. Because I think if you are a fan of Country and Freeze, it's not that. There is a couple levels like that, which are fantastic. Some of these challenges we talked about, it's like Nostalgia Country. And it's literally, there's many levels that are like you're playing a Donkey Kong Country game, but with the soundtrack, with this, that's great. Like you get a little itch scratch there. When that happened, I was like, that boosted some review score points up for me because like that's just great. But yeah, I think it's worth it for if you're a Donkey Kong fan. Like Dylan said, if it's kind of like exactly what I did, where I bought the Switch with Marvel Alliance and then Luigi's Mansion was just around the corner. I think it's like like that where if you have two games, I don't think anyone would not have fun with Donkey Kong. And I think the good thing that also helps with me is because I'm a Donkey Kong fan, like in the DK crew. I enjoy it and feel like, it's still worth it. Happy I got the Switch 2. Where if you're kind of, you go like you like Donkey Kong, but it's not like one of your main ones, you might not have as much fun, right? So like for me, it's like, hour and a half in when I bump into Cranky Kong, I'm like, oh, there he is. Like I have a good, I have a nostalgia about it. So that's why it's like, even at times where it's not game of the year material, I'm having a great time with this. So, and I feel like it's, it's funny. It goes in ebbs and flows, but even Clay, like, a good comparison, and this is different strokes for different folks, where it's just like, how did you feel about the Mario movie? Because the same way when we did the review and you three liked it a lot more than me, but I said, it's just like, I was like that, where this is just too shallow for me to really get in, even though I love Mario. That's where I'd say like this game is kind of like that, where that movie like hits on the beats, has that nostalgia, looks really good, sounds really good, but there's just something missing for me. So that's what I'm saying. If you don't like love Donkey Kong, that might be missing for you a little bit. If you do, then I think you're going to have a good time. I don't think you would buy the Switch and buy the game and be disappointed, but I don't think it's a have to, because even some of the stuff they showed on the and you referred back to that, I wanted to go back, circle back to that, when they showed that direct, there was so much more stuff than we thought. I think sometimes I wish it didn't happen, but stuff like you talked about where it's like the Bonanza mode and this big monkey, I thought that has some consequences. Don't get me wrong, very cool. It's great that you get this bar, you get these golden, I don't know, are they nuggets, bananas, what are they, like, this is the gold, like it's just gold, I guess, right?
There's gold chunks, there's like chips, banana chips, and then full on banandium gems, and then also like ores or like fossils, right?
So in your left corner, you got a circle, and you get those, and when you fill it up, you can hold the triggers, it pounds the chest, and that's when you get massive, right? And you can just, everything goes up, your speed, your stats, your destroy, and that's the best thing when you get, and that's what I said, this is some of the fun stuff. There's one time where I finished a boss battle, and it was like everything was very sparkly, like just to show like, oh, there's lots of gold here. So I just bonanza it up and just destroyed that area, and I had so much money by the end of that, or what, because it collects too, that's what's great. So I had so much, and it was just like, oh yeah, I was just like frothing in the mouth, like I'm gonna destroy this area, this is gonna be tons of fun. But like Dylan said, you can be in that mode like all the time, and there's pros and cons to that, because the pro is, oh cool, like I can have fun destroying everything as a big, I'll say super powered monkey, but at the same time the consequence is kind of gone, because you can do it at any point. It doesn't feel special, and that's what I mean. Like this game at times to me feels like the old school when you used to get the cheat code for God mode. Sometimes this game feels like that, where whether it's the challenges, the bosses, the battles, or just even stuff like that, like even the skill tree, like very easy to update. Like you get so many bananas thrown at you, because like I said, these main bananas, the crystal ones, you get them in the main story, but you can just find them anywhere. You could literally see a wall, have a feeling about it, and even then you could actually hit a trigger to show if there's some there. But still, there's many times where I've just been randomly digging and I found one, and now I'm already statting up. And I don't know how you feel about that skill tree. Is like, I don't think they even needed that in there. We'll get
back to that. Okay.
But yeah, so for me, that's where there's certain things where it just feels too easy. Like maybe I could have been punished a bit more. So
yeah, fair enough. Let's take a quick break. Thank our Patreon producers: Aaron Braden, April of Darkness, Jack Grant, Sam, Superbad Mike, TGGLM69, Jeremy Renner, Charlie Rendell, Clay, and John with no H. New, freshly minted edition in there. Thank you, John, for joining the DK crew, and Clay there for sending in these questions. Thank you, everyone, for keeping the lights on so we can continue to smash deep into the ground and collect Banandium gems and share them with you here on the airwaves. We're going to take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back. Okay, we are back. So you just teased it there, so let's just talk right about that. So yeah, as you mentioned, there is a skill tree for maybe the first time in like a Donkey Kong game. I can't think of another one that like has had a skill tree like this. 64 had like unlocks of sorts, but this is like a different kind of more modern skill tree thing that you'd expect from many games like this. And the way it works is and I guess maybe I'll say this too, we maybe get like a little bit more spoilery now. Travis is obviously pretty early on in the game, so we're not going to spoil much. But like now we're gonna talk like some more specific details if you don't want to hear about some of these things. So be warned.
And I'm not that you don't got to worry that much, Dylan. I'm not worried about this game. Like,
I mean,
there's
some story
personally.
things that I cannot wait for you to see. Like, there's some crazy shit that the last 3 hours of this game is fucking wild.
Really? Okay.
Okay.
See, and that's where I'm excited next week because, like, when I saw it, now that I've seen that the main thing's 7 hours, I probably will try my best to streamline a bit and then go so we can talk about a little more next week. Because I honestly thought there would be no, like, from the 2 hours I played, it's very like, hey, this is Grammy Kong, beat him. Oh, he's back, beat him. It's very like kiddie in a sense.
I think this is a thing I hope becomes a trend because Kirby and the Forgotten Land as well is like, it's a Kirby game. The story, it's as weird and wacky as anything you'd normally expect for Kirby. But the last like 2 or 3 hours of that game is like, you're driving a truck into space and fighting God and all this insane shit is happening. It's like, you know what? We don't take any of this seriously. This is a Nintendo game that like barely has a story attached to it whatsoever. We might as well go absolutely bonkers in the final, couple hours. And I feel like Forgotten Land did that. I think this game really does that. And it really stuck the landing at the end, and as I mentioned, like I've always had fun with this game start to finish. There were like 2 or 3 worlds that I could not stand at all, but you kind of can breeze past them and you don't have to really go back to them if you don't want to. But yeah, there's definitely some good nuggets of gold to be found there when you make your way towards the planet core and all that. But yeah, the skill tree. So this is a thing that every 5 Banandium gems you pick up, and sometimes you'll be given 3 or 5 at a time. So you get like an immediate level up. So yeah, every 5 bananas you get a level up, which gives you 1 skill point, which you can put into all sorts of things, just your raw smash power, your HP, how much you can carry of like the collectible healing things, and then you can put into them all the different transformations, can get different upgrades in there too. Little things like a spinning super jump thing, increase your surf and turf as you mentioned, that kind of thing. What are you doing so far with your skill points? Like how are you building your Donkey Kong?
Right now, he's all just strength. So I'm just literally pick that middle section going all the way down. I maxed out his strike, so as powerful. So like the terrain.
That's funny. I did not do that until like the last world, I don't think. Like,
really? Yeah.
Yeah, I was taking my time. I kind of forgot it was a thing, to be honest. But
I did that, and the next one I'm working on is opening up my radius of the hand clap so I can get more.
That was like I think the first thing I leveled up.
Okay.
I'm like, I think this is gonna pay off in the long run if I get this early.
Especially because there's one. Up until literally yesterday, like I was getting all this gold, and I think I was like at 21, like maybe I think it's 1,000. I was like, this is yeah,
that's a lot. That's crazy.
Like, okay. Yeah, no, I was doing many areas of like now I'm down to 17 because I bumped into one of those trees that you can spend a lot of money on, but up until that point, I was
Sorry,
like,
can I cut you off to that tree? By the way, I love that. I don't know if you remember this, but back in Donkey Kong 64, whenever you'd go in one of the levels, you'd be collecting bananas for all the different monkeys, and then you'd go up to like the gate area, and there'd be like a pig guy, a blue or pink pig or something like that, and they'd be like on a scale, and so you have to like fatten up one of them to like lower the scale. Yeah. And it's this exact same animation where Donkey Kong stands there and like throws them in the exact same way. I was so happy with that little reference to 64 there.
That's so cool. Cute. Nintendo, just put 64 on the game, like the whatever their game pass.
Man. There was rumors about it recently. I hope that rumor is. Or there was like a leaked image of it. So hopefully that happens.
I think it's gonna happen. I just want it to happen sooner or later because there's some stuff that like I forgot like that. The second you talk, I would have never mentioned that. But the second you talk about the pigs and feeling like, oh right,
I forgot about it until I saw the animation. And I was like, this looks so familiar.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh yeah.
So, but that's why I upped that one because at this point I had so much. There's a 21,000 doing nothing, and I'm buying everything. I'm buying getaways. And every time they want me to buy something, I'm buying it because I got money. But then eventually, what happens is you bump into this tree, and it's like, hey, if you feed me, I'll give you the crystal bananas. And I what he wanted was still like $3,000, but it's like I had it just in the back pocket, threw it there, got them all. So then when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I imagine I'm gonna start bumping into more of these trees. I don't want to be a situation where I'm gonna have to come back. So yeah, my skill tree is very much focused on collecting the gold. I'm a very well off monkey, so I can buy everything. Even though I don't like even the stuff they give you get like. There's like the cherries, the balloon, and then there's some boosting where it's like if you're down to a heart and a half or something, it like boosts you all the way up. These are things where it's just again where it's just like I don't know if any of this was needed. The only one I'm happy about is the balloon, because there was a balloon I've accidentally fallen, or there's times literally I've pounded through the
I
ground
literally
and
just
then
bought up to like have 50 balloons now. So I'm like, I'll never think about this again, and I'll never fall off a cliff in my life because I end up
yeah.
doing it a lot.
So once it happened to me once, then I got more cautious of where I was pounding. But that stuff, and I haven't bought much attire because I've seen that those attires have stats. Maybe I'll dip into it, but I like my OG Donkey Kong, you know. So I
Okay,
haven't done that yet. So
that's fair. Yeah, I think for me the effects on the clothing are weak enough, which is like it's if you want to play for like the optimal strategies, go for it. And usually there's like the one you're buying, like, oh, if you buy this one in the ice world, it makes you take less damage from ice blocks. Okay, cool, that
yeah,
makes a lot of sense. So you can play that way if you're like struggling, I suppose. But for me, it's like those effects are usually so minimal that I like that you can kind of just go for more like how you want your Donkey Kong to look instead of having to worry about the stats of it. And so yeah, I'm definitely going for more style over substance on my clothing there. For a while, I had black fur Donkey Kong with like the yellow pants. I really liked that look. I thought it looked really cool. Getting like some really bright like cotton candy colored fur. And right now I have like pants that are like the girders of like the original Donkey Kong game. They're like black
Nice.
with like the ladders and the platforms. And then I have like gold fur. So I'm just full swagged out. And Pauline's got like a miner's outfit on. So it's a great. I don't think I'll change it. Like this is just my outfit now at this point. But yeah, as far as the skill tree, I think I kind of went a different route than you. Where like I first got like the sonar things. I just felt like maybe I should get all these scanning things first. That'll probably be good things to get early on. And then honestly, after not too long, because I was like, I just find like some of the bosses or random blocks will do like sometimes they'll just deal like all three of your hearts if you only have three. So I'm like, I'm just gonna spend all my points and get literally the entire health upgrade, and I just got that. And obviously, as you're going through the levels and you're unlocking like the little houses, that can like overflow you as well. And so I was like, okay, now I have so many hearts, so I'll be good to go there. And then it kind of just, I think the other thing I did early on was like get the like the unique abilities, like that twist, and then you can do like the super jump. I'm like, oh, that's only 1 point or 2 points in there. That's definitely worth getting. So yeah, that kind of thing. And then I came back for like the smash power sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know. To me, it is a good addition in there because there might be points later in the game where I know I need like 4 skill points to upgrade the thing I want. But at least there's always been, even now, I have like over 500 bananas now. There's still always something I want to put those points into. And so it does feel like valuable and like a good reward. And I feel like for me, that was a big issue I had with Mario Odyssey. There's like 900 moons in that game, but I just feel like they're just giving them to you all the time. They don't really like mean anything other than like just getting the arbitrary number up. And so I feel like having them like tie into like the skill tree like this, even though the other rest of it feels very similar, is like a good reward for me. So yeah, I think it was a nice addition, like mixing that with the clothing, just to have a little bit more dynamic there, a little bit more to think about, and the way you customize your characters. It's cool, and I just like having Donkey Kong and all these weird different costumes and fur colors. Because always in Smash Bros. Too, I'm always switching his color around. I never change his clothing, of course, but like, ooh, I love like the green like broccoli Kong.
Yes.
Like I like all these different ones, right?
I love that they put that in there. That I enjoy a lot. That's where to me it's like I'm doing it because I'm getting the bananas, and like I said, I haven't changed outfits. I probably will eventually because I just like the original look right now. Maybe I want to change up later on. But the costume stuff, I wouldn't say take out. Like the stats keep in, the hair color keep in. But I wonder, to me, it's like if I were to. I legitimately feel you could easily play this game and never update any of your stats, and it's not going to make a massive difference. Like it might a little bit, but
I don't know. I think there's going to be harder areas that you're going to feel differently about.
Okay.
I think that'll happen.
I'm waiting. I hope to report next week that is the case.
What world are you on right now?
Just got to, so there's a point where I'm a little bit past where there's a left and a right. There's like the forest world and the what?
Okay, the divide.
Hang on. Yeah.
No, I was just said that. I'm like, oh, that could be.
I'm gonna be more specific. Yeah, it has the jelly, like the pink and blue, and you could beat it. And then either it's the forest world, the frozen world, or the tropical. I went to the left to the frozen because I'm a big snow guy there. So that's right. Yeah, I'm a little bit into that because I was watching the YouTube video. I was like, okay, no, I've got past that. I think I literally saved at there's like the big void thing I have to break into the next one.
Sure.
So that's where I am right now. So
okay.
But yeah, up until then I haven't felt much. It's been a breeze. So
yeah, I don't think I think the next 2 or 3 worlds are maybe some trickier ones. I think I found the ice one pretty easy, but the jungle one was a little bit harder.
Okay.
And then some boss fights near the end, I guess. But like mostly, I would say it was like I don't know. There's just certain like, have you done any of those challenge mission things where you have to like break down the building in time?
Break down the building.
Like essentially, you're put into like there's just giant cube. It very much looks like the girders from like the original Donkey Kong. So there's a big building. You have to like smash specific blocks to make the whole building topple down. Have you done any of those yet?
Do you make it top down? No, I've done the ones where you have a percentage where it's like destroy this amount of percentage before the time runs out.
Yeah, not quite those.
Okay,
which
I did
one.
Which that one I did appreciate.
These required me a few attempts. Like I kind of have to strategize and plan my route and all that.
Okay, no, I've not done any of those. So no, the one I was referring to, I like that because it popped up out of nowhere. You just jumped up and you got triggered into it. But no, I've not done that. So I'm excited. You're gonna be excited about. You're pushing me to, streamline some of that stuff a bit more instead of just making my money that I guess I've been having a good time. I've been just mining for gold, but no, that's exciting then. So and do you get to turn into Bonanza or you just stay as Donkey Kong?
I think for all of those ones you can go into like your different transformations.
And that's another thing that surprised me.
You have like DK Bananza, or you have like the Gorilla Bonanza.
Yep.
And you have. Do you have any other ones? What other ones?
No, I feel like do you get a zebra?
Yes.
Okay, because I think I'm right there. Because the guy was setting me up
That's
like,
you get an ice. Okay.
Yeah, because he's like,
if you got one before that.
Yeah, he's like, oh, too bad. It'd be a shame you're not like a zebra and could just run across. So I was like, okay, zebra is about to come right now. So I think that's where I am story wise. It's about just to get the zebra.
And what's cool about those transformations is once you go Bonanza mode, you can just like switch between them like on the fly. So you can like go into zebra mode while you're still mid transformation.
You're like Gaia from a Secret Invasion.
Mode, punch through some stuff, switch to Donkey, fly across this platform, switch and do, I'll not spoil, but the other ones and like do things. And sometimes you do have to do those things in like a pretty short amount of time. I mean, you can obviously do various upgrades to your character to increase how long that lasts. But yeah, and like some of those destruction missions, you'll be like switching between and stuff. And so that can be kind of interesting strategy wise a little bit. I think there's two transformations you haven't seen. Like the zebra one, I'm not really a big fan of, honestly. I won't say why, just because you haven't used it yet. That's the only one I don't really like, though. The other ones are fine. The last, there's two other ones though that I love and I think are super fun and add a lot to the game. The last one you get in particular is like the most fun for me, like the sound effect with it. So we'll come back to that once you've unlocked all of those. Let's see. I guess other gameplay things like. I just love the roll. Like you just hit the left trigger and you just barrel roll across the screen. Feels great. And as I mentioned, like I just want to highlight it again. I think the fact that you can cancel seemingly any single action at any point, even no matter where. Like a lot of games, you start a punch and you're locked into that punch until like the punch animation is done. But it seems like in this game, everything can just be canceled into anything else that you're able to do. So if you just jumped in there, you can immediately barrel roll out of that. If you're like charging a punch, you can immediately cancel that into like jumping in a different direction. And that works for like everything. Everything can just be like canceled into anything. And I think it makes the game like super frenetic and fun and really works well with like just smashing into random stuff like a Beyblade, just bouncing off the walls like back and forth.
That's a good comparison,
yeah. I think one thing that there's a couple things with the physics and smashing stuff. One thing that I kind of wish was true is that when you go back to previous areas that it like preserves how much you've destroyed that world. I understand why they regenerate it because obviously you could make it like impossible to get to certain bananas, but like at any point you can just go on the map and say like reset the terrain and it'll like regenerate the level if you've done that. But I kind of wish I'd go back to a level and be like, oh yeah, I remember when I spent 7 minutes burrowing through the wall here and created like this crazy tunnel.
Add some character.
Yeah, and then it will regenerate all like the bananas and fossils. Like you don't get another banana if you smash that one again. It's like a different color. You can tell, oh, I've already collected that one. But it does make like, I guess just like me leaving an impact on the world is something that feels great about this. When you're done a level after you spend an hour there and you look back, before you're about to leave and just look at all the stuff you've destroyed. It's a little disappointing that when you go back to those levels, all that stuff kind of comes back to life. But at the same time, people live in this world. So maybe it's a good thing that I didn't just destroy their whole town by just being a crazy guy, just going around destroying everything. And the other thing is, like, I'd be curious what this game would look like if it was more physics to it, in the sense that, like, if there's like a rock and you smash out the base layer of the the rock will just like continue to float there, right? It's not like it'll start to fall over and then like topple. The game doesn't really have that level of physics, and I think I could even imagine that stuff on the Switch too, like crashing the console and like dropping the frame rate, because that requires a lot more with how many just little particles there is and how many interactions there would have to be. But it is something that I expected to happen, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see. I've smashed all this rock out. I can't wait to see this mountain fall over, and then it just like nothing happens. And it's like, okay, well, I'm not too mad about it, but it was something I would have liked to have seen. Pauline, this is kind of a new Pauline, new revised version of Pauline. Any thoughts on this this kid here, this new edition?
Give me, because I've seen some people when it was like she's younger, and I saw some people go, oh, this kind of goes against some stuff that happens in Odyssey or her story. Sure. Set me up. What is, just elevator pitch, what is her story in Odyssey?
I don't know. I think her story in Odyssey is that Pauline is like a singing dancer lady who works in New Donk City, which is like the first level in Odyssey. And she's just kind of there, and I mean, I don't think it's not really about her. She just kind of exists there. But it's New Donk City, and it's Pauline, so they're kind of working side and side, or hand in hand, and like going all the way back to the original Donkey Kong, right? It wasn't like Peach that was the one; it was like Pauline was the one. So there's like some, ancient history there between these characters. But I think that's been a lot of the debate people have had, is like, well, is this a prequel to Odyssey then, or?
So wait, you're saying in the very first Mario game that was not Peach, it was Pauline?
I think so, right?
Okay.
I think that's
interesting.
Case, yeah.
And then maybe that's why he kidnapped her, because they were friends. Yeah, for me, I don't dislike it.
But also, I think that to go deep in the lore, which I don't understand the Donkey Kong lore, okay. I just read things online, is that Donkey Kong from the original Donkey Kong is actually Cranky Kong. And then Donkey Kong Jr. was a character who has now become like mainline Donkey Kong, I think. But don't quote. There's a YouTube video that could cover that 100 times better than I can. Okay. There's a lot of deep lore here that people seem to get really into, and a lot of people were like, the game, like there were some leaks or spoilers, and people were really frustrated by that. And I get, if you're totally into the Donkey Kong lore, I get it. But for me, it's like, I don't really care.
I'm gonna find some of these videos, because I feel like I'm a big DK fan, but there's some stuff like I didn't even know about that, so I feel like I gotta brush up and go deeper in the fandom. I think a lot of it is like
assumptions by players, because I don't know if they really spell it out, if Nintendo spells it out, or if it's just like people putting context clues together.
I think Pauline is, I have no care, like pros or cons if she's in there. I think you didn't really need her in there. I think she's just in there because Nintendo's like, we want to keep this character around. She's in Mario Kart. I bet if there's another Smash one day, you're going to get Pauline in that. Like, I think that they're trying to make, I think Nintendo is trying, like, even right now, bring Donkey Kong up a level as a character again, but I think they're still in the process of making new characters, right? And that's, to me, what it feels like is, well, Donkey Kong's kind of tied to her, and let's keep her in the zeitgeist, because maybe one day we can do a Pauline game, and which is great for them, because they can sell, and hopefully it's great, but that's why I haven't, as of now, felt any, okay, cute little story that right now she's shy to sing in front of certain people, and she's building that up, but, and I'm sure the girls will love, but it did nothing for me, and even then, it's like, I feel like right now you got the co-op, so who knows? But I feel like, I could be wrong, you could have just made that Diddy or Dixie and they throw something else, and I would have preferred that, in my opinion. So,
right,
yeah.
I don't think I have any super deep thoughts on the character. I think she's a fun companion for DK, and I'm glad that it is actually her, not that like purple rock that it's like the egg that was like at the start of the game. It was like hinted at the first time we saw the game. Because I think she has some fun personality. She doesn't have a ton of personality, but she's got like more than DK, I guess. She has like an arc to some extent in this game. So I like her. I think she's a cool companion. I'd be down to see like this version of Pauline stick around or appear somewhere else, or like put this Pauline in Mario Kart. I would be super down for that, because right now we only have like the adult woman Pauline, but I'd be down to put this kid or teenager, however old she is, in there. I like her outfit. That she has in this game, like the kind of scrappier version of what Pauline like regularly wears. As far as the other characters, I really like Grumpy Kong as a new Kong addition, but like Poppy Kong and Void Kong, complete zeros for me in terms of like interesting Kong or like Mario type villains. I just don't like their design. I just think it's weird. I just think it's really lazy that like Poppy Kong's personality as like the woman of the evil crew is like she has perfume and that's like her personality. I just think that's the best you could do, guys. Come on.
And even then, I feel like the way she moves is very like she has the hair and she's not like a sexualized character, but just very like look at me. Like it's very that feels dated. It feels like a dated
It's funny.
character.
I remember seeing like a meme a couple years ago that has just proved to be true over and over again, which is like, why is every supervillain team like this? And it's like you have like the main like leader generic guy. You have like the creepy small one, which would be like Void Kong in this analogy. Mm-hmm. You have like the sexy woman, which would be like Poppy Kong in this one. And then you have like the big dumb guy, which would be like Grumpy Kong in this analogy. So we're missing like, you know, obviously it's like a team of 3, so that doesn't quite have the same thing. But it's like when I think about like any villain team, it's like, oh yeah, they're always like that. They always have
Superman,
the exact same archetype.
The movie like Superman has that.
The
There's
Black
like Lex.
Order, it's always like that.
Yeah, it's like it's a fun. It's the archetype, right? So
yeah. And then what? I just don't think you've seen much else that I want to talk about. So is there anything else from your side of the fence there that we haven't mentioned yet?
No, so far I've like the boss battles have been fun, nothing challenging. I really liked that first boss battle. Can't remember what the name was, but he's just like oozing the little guys. And there's one point where you have to like knock him down, and he climbs up some sort of hill, and you got to get under it and like dig your way through it, and then you can punch him. But the visuals of you're on top of this hill punching the bad guy, and all those little like barnacle guys are like climbing up the hill after him. Very cool. And at one point they're just dropping, like again, you talked about the frame rate. Imagine, Marvel Ultimate Alliance. There's dozens and dozens of these little guys everywhere, and I love that. It's something where it's like we talk about all the time. It's like that moment in Infinity War where Thor lands, like give me Thanos, and it's just powered up Thor versus a bunch of just like weak, nothing characters. That's what this Donkey Kong game gives you. You get to be a god level hero, and it's just like, oh, there's like, I won't say 100, but let's say 50 of these little guys. I'm gonna miss them out. And don't get me wrong, they do like a little damage, but it's great to be like just throwing stuff. So there was that. There was the one I played where you are in the carts and you're just going around in a circle throwing stuff. Not challenging at all. Like all you have to do is just jump and miss a laser. Like that's it. Right. And that's where it's like, okay, this feels very paint by numbers. And then there was the other Grumpy Kong when he comes back. I can't remember. He's like bigger and you have to like avoid his stomp and do something. That was fun. But I think the boss battles playing wise haven't been satisfying, but look and kind of cinematic feel have been satisfying. Like lots of like, oh, if they make the Donkey Kong movie, they should put this in that movie. That type of stuff.
Yeah, there's a couple you get later on where you kind of have to like swap between your Bonanza's transformations like on the fly for like certain phases. And I think those ones become more interesting just because mechanically there's a lot more there. But I agree with you. Like all those earlier ones, kind of style over substance, and whether or not you agree with they have style is kind of up to you as well. And some of them do, some of them don't, kind of thing. But yeah, I definitely hear where you're coming from. So yeah, there's a lot. I think maybe the last thing I'll shout out here is I think maybe my favorite world in the whole game is the Lagoon world, which is the one that you've already played and are well past at this point. But I just feel like to me it was like 4 or 5 layers. I found myself having to like go back up to higher layers to like find other ways to like burrow down to like drop onto other or like previously floating platforms in other different areas. I like the visuals of it. I think in general, like the art style in this game, or I guess I should say more specifically, the color palette in this game is super weird, where it just takes like 2 really not contrasting colors, but 2 colors I'm not used to seeing next to each other and like mixes them. And I feel like the color palette of all the worlds kind of, or most of the worlds has that going on. But yeah, I really liked Lagoon World. I think that was maybe my favorite so far, and definitely had fun going back there and crushing some more like secret things that I hadn't seen the first time around. And then yeah, we can talk about some other specific worlds kind of next week or whenever you've gotten to them, because there's some other good ones later on that I'm excited to break down a little bit more. Okay, so let's see. Oh, one last mini thought here is like, well, obviously we talked about this with Mario Kart World that like, why do Donkey Kong and Pauline only have one costume? Hoping the theory for that is that like they want to add like a Bonanza DLC thing to Mario Kart World where we get like young Pauline, get some new costumes for those characters inspired by all the costumes that exist in this game. That would be great. So I hope we get to see that. I also would love, and I want to do this, if you'd be interested in doing this cast with me at some point, I want to take a look at like some Smash characters who have like been around for a while and be like, who needs like a fresh moveset? Who needs like an update? Who's like been just through the motions, and I feel like Donkey Kong is a character that, like, man, I want to see him get like a full new moveset with the next Smash Bros. Game, like inspired by all the crazy new shit he can do in this game, because I think that would be like make for a really fun moveset. So maybe we can do that sometime down the road, but I hope we see that.
Yeah, I would very much like it, especially with the ground and pound and everything. Like, I don't know how you could make it, but I think you could easily, if people have bow and arrows and bombs and guns, make it that Donkey Kong like just picks up a piece of the ground. Maybe doesn't even like an animation where the ground's not being destroyed, but just like okay, he picks up something and throws like tons of that stuff. And I think his ultimate should be like the ape Bonanza mode for sure. You know, like so I agree with you. He'd be a good one. Other than don't take away the charge fist. That's a favorite of mine. You know.
Yeah, yeah. And then let's close it out then with Clay's last two questions. So, number one here, where does it rank for you in terms of DK games at large? So, as I mentioned at the top of the episode, like, I'm not actually super storied with this franchise, I guess. I'm more, DK for me is always more of a character in the crossover stuff. I think for my personal ranking, it would be Donkey Kong 64, and then this game, and then, like, I don't know, just throw the countries in there. Like, I really unfortunately don't have, like, a very good ranking for you, Clay, unfortunately, as like a DK guy. But I will say, after finishing it, rolling credits, 64 is still my preferred game between the two. Now, which one do I want to like boot up more and play right now, today, in this moment? That's probably Bonanza, because it's new and fresh and all that.
Probably controls better too. Like, I guarantee you play 64 now, you're like, oh my god, has a better
frame rate, all this kind of thing. Rigid, but I still think, obviously it's hard to battle 20 years of nostalgia. But I think overall as a game, I'll especially even months from now, looking back on it in retrospect, I still think 64 will still be my number one at that point in time, which is cool though. But I still really enjoy this game. And then, do you want to answer? I guess I want to wait until you beat the game, maybe.
Yeah, I'll wait till I beat the game. But even then, I don't know. My thing is, Clay, and that's where I feel bad when you answer too. For me, I would have to do a playthrough again of 64, and I will do that I'm not gonna say when they put it on the Switch, whatever library, because it could be something where I have tons of nostalgia and it's still fun. But then when I play, I go, you know what? That a lot of this was a lot of the kids stuff coming in there, and now, granted, is it fair to compare a 30-year-old game? No, but you can still go, you know what, 64 was great for its time, but because of X, Y, and Z, maybe I can't enjoy it as much as I thought, right? Where I feel like we still have games where we go back, where we go, oh no, this still holds up. Like, I had that recently where I think it's tons of fun, but once I got the Switch 2, I played Star Fox, and man, is that a rickety game. And I don't get me wrong, I still love that game, and I think that's the tough thing to compare them, because Country is a lot different. Even Freeze is, I think, not a lot different than Country, but different enough. And then obviously 64 is different. And then this, because like you said, other than being a 3D Donkey Kong game, I don't think 64 and this are pretty similar. And then there's games that you mentioned that I've either played a little of or not played all. Like, again, he's a fucking drums Donkey Kong game. He's a wide variety of different genres. So to me, I don't think I could do a ranking on best, because I think the Donkey Kong franchise really comes down to personal taste, right? Like, at least with Mario, it's like, well, you got a bunch of 2D platformers, you could rank that, right? Like, same thing. It's like platformer versus 3D world versus RPG. You can have a favorite, but it is in a best that's very, very subjective. So for this, I have to finish this, and then I do have to do 64. So I think when 64 inevitably does release, I think we should cycle back. I don't know if we'll remember, but we'll try and remember your question, Clay, because I know we'll talk about that. And
I'll keep my notes, so we'll come back.
I'm with Dylan right now, where I just feel comfortably from what I remember and the few times I did play again when I was older and booting up the N64. 64 is still there, because even then, like I said, I love the variety of characters, and I just liked that world. There's something I will say about this world that it's very pretty, very, very colorful, very poppy, like in the score, but sometimes it feels like too clean for me. It feels just too almost polished, and I wish there was a little. And even then, Luigi's Mansion 2, me and Taylor talked about that. It was like missing some grit, and it's the thing of like,
Grumpy Kong should be grumpier. Okay, let's just say it how it is.
And it's a great, like, is that just their animation style, or is it kind of like, well, it's, we don't want to be as dark as we were back then. So right now, I'll say 64, and I don't know. This is pretty neck and neck with a Country, because like I think I prefer playing this, but that's way more challenging. Like, if I want to have a challenge and sit down and play a game where I'm locked in, that's going to be country. But if I just want to breeze through, have some fun, listen to good music, maybe even put in a podcast, just destroy some stuff, this is it. So a longer answer, but just it's a mix of variety for this. So.
Yep. And then his other question was, where does it fall in ranking 2D and 3D platformers of the 21st century? Doesn't have to be an exact number, can be a tier. So that's a huge question. And I think that'd be a fun discussion to do sometime, because I feel like most times I see people ranking platformers, it's always like 3D platformers, 2D platformers, like really segregating those two things into different categories, different tiers. I think that would be fun at some point to like just mix platformers at large together and see where the overall rankings would square out. I think without having a huge list in front of me, because that's like, how many games have I played that are 2D and 3D platformers this century? That's like probably at least 100 games. But I'll say in terms of like some things off the top of my head, obviously, as I mentioned, like for me, this would be kind of below a Donkey Kong 64. It'd be below Super Mario 64. It'd be below like the Galaxy games, but it'd be above Odyssey. It'd be above Super Mario Wonder, for example. Remember the 2D Mario from like a couple years ago? I'd put it above that. I'd put it below probably Kirby and the Forgotten Land, I think.
Okay. Where's Sunshine? Where's Sunshine on this list?
It's definitely above Sunshine.
What?
You know I'm not a Sunshine fan.
You got
that surprising you?
No, but
you
I
and
still
Taylor
thought...
are like the only Sunshine defenders in the world.
First of all, that's a lie. When they remade it, lots of love for people. They put a Sunshine costume in cart, so they know the love's there. For me, I'm just surprised because the way you talked about this game felt similar in Sunshine, but it felt like still like lower than that. So I'm surprised. But yeah, when you list off those, I think
at the end of the day, like just this game is super fun to move around in, and so for me, it's going to trump any game like a Sunshine, which like I don't really love the movement of, or like a game like Odyssey that I don't love.
Great
like that's
setting, though.
Ultimately at the end of the day, that's the most important thing for me in a platformer is how fun is it to just fly around the screen. In this game, it's going to barrel over a lot of other games for that reason. What are some other platformers in recent?
Well, even when I looked up, though, then you start going to all these different like
it's
people
below
count
Astrobot. I'll say that.
I would imagine, but people bring up like Cuphead and Hollow Knight and Limbo. Like that's a problem.
But then we're getting into like other subgenres.
No, I agree, but that's the thing of like what you said, like even Spyro, like what
it's below Celeste, it's below Spelunky.
Yeah, that for me is tough. Like I'll just say it's this sounds bad, like in the top 50, but the reason I'm saying that is because if you start looking into it, looks like there's a lot, but as far as some of the ones
pseudo regalia, I'm just anytime one comes to my mind, I'm just gonna say
yeah. But let's say I'm just making like a closed-eyed dartboard throw without knowing every exact game, some of the ones you list off there. I feel like it's a lower B tier. That's where it is. It's definitely on S tier and definitely on A tier. And I couldn't even say it's top of the B tier because I feel like you get those B tier platformers. I feel like, yeah, that's above it because of this, that's above it because of that. Because I feel like there's ones that might have some better modes, or they might even have a bit more of a story put into it, which I will see because Dylan, we're talking about that. So I'm interested. Do you count Spelunky as a platformer? Because I'm seeing this on the list as well too.
It's like that's the core loop of it, but it's more of a roguelike.
Yeah. Ukulele, which I still have never played. I want to, but have you played that?
Ooh, where would I rank that? I haven't played a Spyro or a Crash recently enough. I haven't played Ukulele. Those are
I definitely would put Crash above. I still have the Spyro Reunited trilogy, and I've not played it. I bought it off somebody on Facebook for $15. Still sitting there collecting dust, but I would put Spyro above this. Like again, that's why I think it's like lower B tier for me. That's where I'm I would feel comfortable. I feel like as right now though, we'll see next week because you did say something's got me excited. If it were to crack the A tier, I don't know if it could with what it is. So I think it could be higher B tier.
I think you laid that out well, and I like the B for Bananza tier. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with a B tier as well. I don't know if I have a plus or minus of it. I don't think I have much more to discover in this game. Like obviously, there's a bunch of bananas I haven't collected, but like in terms of genuinely like new surprising things, I don't think I have much more of that. But I could be wrong, so I could always kind of revisit this.
But also. Is your ranking like on a quality or an enjoyment level? Kind of like we talk about like the quality of a movie, favorite movie, like that sort of thing. Because for me, if we're making just a fun list, this game would definitely be A tier. Because this is a game that I can just sit down, have a good time, But when you bring in everything else, that makes it a little more tricky for me,
Yeah, I mean, I think if it's funny if we put it in the specific context of like ranking it against other platformers and not even and like looking at it like judging it on its platformingness and not even like its overall package. I actually think this game it like loses a bit of its luster in the platforming sequence, but it also is kind of like a subgenre with like a destruction kind of game, which is like we haven't really talked about that, but like that's a pretty like there's a lot of games about building,
S tier,
but there are not a lot of games about destruction in like a truly sandbox way like this. But like I love Red Faction Guerrilla. It's one of my favorite games from the 360, and like just the fun of destroying buildings and watching them topple over, like Rampage, things like this. That's like a fun subgenre. And then in terms of like destruction games that I've played, like this is one of the best. So I don't know. I think it's just tricky, right? Because this is to me. Like, in terms of like just straight up being a platforming game, it maybe misses the mark a little bit, but it's also trying to achieve a bunch of other things on top of that. So it's tricky.
You need like a I think maybe you already said this, but almost like a subgenre of platform. Like, yeah, it's a platformer, but it's this specific type of platform,
and this
right?
is a very niche one, to be fair, as well. So it's hard to also compare it to other things. Like other, Donkey Kong 64, it's really hard for me to compare it to that game because that's like a game that has all these different playable characters and has like much more intentionally designed. It's hard to like go from one rope swing to another in that game. In this game, you're never going to find anything quite like that.
No.
Like it's very different.
It's funny as we're talking about it now because when I was talking about the favorite versus best list and stuff, I was thinking about like movie genres and stuff. And this feels like a weird comparison, but walk with me. I feel like platformers are like the movie equivalent of a horror genre where, there is a genre just horror, but there's so many different variations of horror, whether it's like the body torture, whether it's a slasher, whether it's psychological, whether it's a monster movie. Like with most time it's like if it's Western, it's cowboys, right? If it's sci-fi, most of the time it's something with space or something trippy like an Inception. But with horror, it's like, yeah, it's horror, but it's like that's like comparing. Some people might say, oh, Friday the 13th, my favorite horror movie. Midsommar, my favorite horror movie. But it's like those are two very different things. They're still designed to do the same thing of like scare you or make you feel unease. And same with platformers, they're still designed of you're in a world and there's, not always colorful levels, but just like levels, you're doing lots of jumping, you're transporting from one place to another, you're locking a lot of stuff. But like you said, to compare Donkey Kong to even some of the few things like of the past that you threw out there.
The primary verb of this game is not jump onto platform. It's like smash shit, so it definitely differentiates itself from that.
But it fits nowhere else, right, in a genre other than like you said, let's say in the next 5 years the destruction genre popped off, like, hey, well, it's a destruction game, but like we get few and far in between. Yeah, exactly. So but that's an interesting conversation. And even then it's funny because I looked up that I looked to just get some ideas, and like you said, there's people that there's so many ones that come up. It's like they've made lists like top 100 or top 50, but it's always 3D platform or 2 platform. Like you said, people really different. Like, nope, they're not to be talked about in the same breath. So that's an interesting one.
I'm excited to go read and listen to some reviews because like I've seen a ton of praise for this game, and
90 on Metacritic.
It feels like a little overstated for what I think the quality of the game is, but like maybe I'm missing something, or maybe there's just something I hadn't considered here too. But I also think a lot of people are just happy to have a new Donkey Kong game, and specifically a new 3D Donkey Kong game. I'm one of those people. I think I love my boy DK, and I'm glad that he's getting like a big triple A like expensive ass game. I think it's great, and that like inherently makes me like the game more than like if it was like someone else, of course, who is like but if it was the exact same game. But like that's a big thing with Nintendo is like our nostalgia for these characters and this world, and it feels like Donkey Kong is due in some way, even though it's like he's just a nobody,
Well, yeah, and that's what you're talking about. Like, this feels like no matter how you feel at the game, it feels like they are giving him a main platform to rise up, and that's something where again, the Switch is a family console, and I guarantee you, this game is going to be and I'll see it happens with my kids. I feel like this game's gonna be many kids' Donkey Kong 64 because they're gonna think about like kids that have played only so few games and they play this game and they can already destroy like all this stuff. Like
crazy.
That's one of those games where you play it, and even though maybe other games have similar things, you're going to continue to play other games as you're growing up, and it's going to be, but nothing matched that. Nothing had that type of situation. That's where it's like, I think from that perspective, again, the ease, I think, of the game, and that's what I'll try to make sure my kids play it before the next time I report back. But I feel like on that spectrum, it's a 10 out of 10, no notes. Like, I think this is going to be a killer for like kids and families. I think this is like a fun thing. Like I feel like anyone can pick it up and have a good time with it. So yeah, we'll have to see. And I do think too, I've not even listened and read a full review. I've just seen clips of it. I feel like the biggest thing it's getting praised for is the just terrain and physics. Like I feel like that is boosting it up, where I think even people think it's a fun game. I think people are so impressed by that and the versatility of it. They're like, hey, has to go. It's kind of like if we talk about a movie where it's like, story, acting, maybe not the greatest, but it looks gorgeous. Like it feels like it's that, where this is like a purely aesthetic thing that people go, you know what? The fact that you can do this, this, and this with the landscape, really cool. So I ain't going below an 8, which is fine, And like I said, on Metacritic, it's a 90. None of us drafted because it came down in July, which obviously in August we'll be refreshing those lists. But that's good. I hope that it's reviewed well. I hope that it sells well, because same thing for all my critiques, rest maybe sounding sometimes disappointed with the game. I absolutely, which sounds weird, would still just buy a second one, because I'd love to see what they do with it and the more worlds they would add to it, because I've still had tons of fun with it. So
yeah, definitely. Could not agree more. Thank you for joining me, Travis. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Like I said, next week we'll probably have an update on this game. Mm-hmm. If Travis hasn't beaten it yet, we'll do another update, because we definitely got to talk about the ending and things like that at some point. But yeah, we can do it. This will be a fun game to check in on week to week. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.